Hi, this is Cote de Pablo.
And this is Michael Weatherly, and we're off duty. Today we're going to talk about Season 3, Episode 6, The Voyeur's Web. We also have a very special guest star with us in the studio today, Mr. Eric Christian Olsen, known as Echo to his friends and enemies. He played Marty Deeks on the very, very highly rated, successful show, NCIS Los Angeles, which someone has to explain to me at a certain point, but we'll get into that later with Echo. Welcome to Off Duty, an NCIS Rewatch podcast. Today on the show, Season 3, Episode 6, The Voyeur's Web. Two wives of two deployed enlisted Marines disappear. The NCIS investigates. McGee recalls something, and that gives the team a start. Two wives went into business with each other online, but it goes out of control, and the gang has got to figure it out. Do you mind if I go into a little bit of context around when this show was made? I know we do this. This is sort of a feature of the podcast that we do, where we talk about on this day and date back through the mists of time.
Oh, yes. This is the time, the history. What do you call that? The time? No, the time in a bottle? No.
Time capsule? Ish. Yes, I know. That's very good. That's right.
There you go.
The ESL class starts in half an hour.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, take it easy. The White Sox swept the Astros 4-0, winning their first World Series in 88 years. What sport is that?
Football. No, baseball. That's baseball. The White Sox?
Is it?
It's not hockey.
What city are the White Sox from?
Minnesota?
Okay. And the Astros.
The Astros. You know this.
It's the Astros.
Alabama Astros.
That's such a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Minnesota White Sox and the Alabama Astros. Well, back in this day, October 25th, 2005, the Alabama White Sox swept. No, the Minnesota.
The White Sox are from New York.
It's the Chicago White Sox and the Houston Astros. Because Astros.
I was close.
So the space program in Houston, Texas, and Astros is like astrological, like.
Oh, I should.
So it had to do.
One.
Well, it just has to do with American history and
American sports.
Space history. Hello.
Okay.
By the way, I am having a meeting tonight after I work today about UFOs, and I'm very excited.
Well, that's going to be a fun one.
I'm going all deep into it. Imagine winning your first World Series in 88 years, Cody. How would you feel? You're like, I don't know. I wouldn't feel anything. 88, though, great number.
Fantastic number. 2 karmic.
Fidel Castro agreed to allow 3 officials from the United States Agency for International Development into the country to assist in relief efforts in the wake of Hurricane Wilmer Valderrama.
Wilma.
Not Wilmer Valderrama?
Nope.
Just another NCIS reference. It was also a good day for gaming. Both Call of Duty 2 and Civilization 4 hitting the shelves. Cody, what's your Call of Duty handle again?
Right hand.
Right handle. And do you know who was involved in Call of Duty? One of our writer friends from NCIS.
Oh, no. Jesse Stern.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I remember that.
Yeah,
God, that's a good piece of trivia.
How about that?
I know that.
Jesse Stern. And if you want to find him right now, he's probably still playing Call of Duty.
Well, I don't know about that.
Tending his little psilocybin garden outside and making sure that everything is hunky-dory.
I love that guy.
Love you, Jesse Stern. The Voyeur's Web. I want to sort of take a moment, and I want to go into our Wayback Machine, which is sort of what this off-duty podcast is all about. We're going back to a time the internet was still kind of a new thing. This is pre-iPhone, pre-iPad. This is 2005. So Voyeur's Web, everything in the show is kind of, it's when you still had like modem dial-ups that made noise and like, and we had cathode ray tube monitors on our desks.
How did it go by so fast? You know, that like it's like a jump cut.
Time
I don't
keeps
even
on
remember
slipping.
that, but it's like now you
You
can't
know,
live without
We had
technology.
flip phones that had, like antennas that you
yeah.
would bring up.
I mean, well, all you have to do is watch an NCIS episode and we're still doing the flip phone thing.
Yes. Well, the good thing, burn phones now a days even they're flip phones. You can still get them.
Oh no, I have a friend who loves the burn phones.
Spy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or just a cheater?
No, I don't know. He just loves dropping burn phones.
Yeah, be very suspicious of the person with 3 phones. I think I think we all know that one. I think we've learned that, like, why do you have 3 phones? Or the person who has no phone. And I know someone who I am not going to name who does not have a phone.
So you can't reach him?
Her.
Oh.
Very interesting.
It's very interesting all of a sudden.
Someone who worked for Raytheon and somebody who is involved in satellite technology. And
that says it all.
And somebody who has worked for both Russia and Homeland Security.
Well, that says it all.
No
somebody
phone.
Who does not want to be found.
Somebody who you are not finding that person.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So the Voyeur's web.
She must probably come across some pretty scary stuff. And there's a couple of people who probably don't want her to talk, which means that she doesn't want to be found.
I asked her about UFOs and she just looked at me.
No words.
No words.
Silence is everything.
Silence.
Communicates, sometimes it speaks.
Do your own rabbit hole research. Meet us back at the podcast.
We'll talk about it.
So this little episode, okay, can you, do you, first of all, have, when you were rewatching, any memories of the controversial nature of the episode?
It's funny because we did talk about this at some point, you and I think while we were prepping for this. And I remember that you had to remind me actually that there was like a big thing about...
People got upset with the content of it, yeah.
Because it had to do with porn and it had to do with internet and it had to do with...
Yes,
it was a snuff film, essentially, right?
Yes, and David North is the young man who is watching...
Yes, also... Did he write the episode?
Yes, I believe so. And he is now not just the executive producer, co-showrunner of NCIS Mothership with Steve Binder.
Right.
He is also producing Mark Harmon's Origins and Sean Harmon.
And I have to say, he's a really good writer.
Yeah.
I really like him.
He's co-doing that with Gina Monreal. Yeah. So bravo to you, David North. We're going to give you a little tip of the hat back to the Voyeur's web.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a very young Mr. North. At the beginning, I was like, I know that face.
so there's some mockery of nerddom in the thing as well.
But I think they did that all the time at NCIS. I mean, we were doing that with Proby, with Sean, all the time.
Were you at all nerdy in school?
Nah, I don't think I was nerdy. I think I was geeky.
In the scene where Tony and Ziva meet Carter Finch, the webmaster, Tony finds it impossible not to laugh at Finch's life. Is your mother wondering why we're here?
I kind of told her this was for a job interview.
Can we just talk about that moment? Because
can we talk about who plays Carter Finch?
Oh, yes.
Nat Faxon?
Yes, who's terrific.
And we not only loved working with him.
We immediately fell in love with him. Yes. We saw him at the rehearsal and we were like, who is this guy? Like we were, who is this guy? And one thing that a lot of people don't know is that we had so many guest actors go through NCIS. Some of them became incredibly famous. We're going to have a lot of them here.
And very successful.
Hopefully they don't turn us down.
Not a lot of them won Academy Awards like Nat, though.
No. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah. But he hadn't won it when he was working with us.
No, not yet.
We would have had him on the podcast for this.
But do you remember how he kept busy on playing with his props throughout all of the rehearsal process? And like he never broke his character.
Were those his actual Star Wars toys? That's what I want to know. I'm like, Nat, let us know in the comments.
I know.
Careful with that Wookiee. It's a prototype from 1978.
You're a little too old for toys.
These aren't toys, they're investments.
I mean, he was so funny. And I remember you and I just kind of clocking that because there's a couple of guest actors that I remember just being in the, in the presence of just this incredible talent or just something that was
looseness
very different.
And intelligence.
Yes, intelligence and just this trust, and they were doing their thing and they were not going to be rushed by the process and they were not going to like fabricate things. They were really just there, present.
He was just living in his basement.
He was, and he was
my mom just likes to have me around. He makes her feel safe.
Yeah, no, he was awesome.
And it's like, I'm sure.
And we were dying laughing, partly because of what he was obviously doing. But then, we were developing our relationship, the character's relationship.
That's right.
And there was this complicity between us.
Yeah,
and
the three of us had a lot of fun in that.
Did.
He had a deck of magic cards. He had the Wookiee with the
And you
ammo
went for
belt.
the cracker? No,
I
the
went
cookie.
for the little
cookie, like a graham cookie or something.
Whatever that little cookie was.
Leanne always flirted with me when I delivered her paper. One day I was talking about my website and she asked if I...
Back up a step there. You were a paper boy?
And he was so pissed that he took it.
The cookie away.
Yeah.
That was not in the script. I don't think.
No.
At least to my recollection. Maybe North is like, it was in the script. I put it in the script. There weren't all ad libs.
But I remember that laugh at the end. You couldn't control it. I couldn't control it because you started going.
Well, he was so funny.
He was genuinely funny. And we were able to use it into the scene because we were ridiculing him in a way.
We were just laughing at him. And it was a great head fake to the audience because later on, when it turns out that he is involved in this whole thing.
Yeah, but he's killed.
He's killed, but he was involved.
Yes.
But we so we weren't very good agents. Let's just call it out.
Maybe we were amazing. You were allowing him to believe that he was this thing, that he was
not going to be one of the suspects. I loved that scene. I think it was one of the most important scenes that you and I had together early on that, like you said, it established that kind of looseness.
The play.
The play.
But I think a lot of that was found in these kind of important scenes where we really allowed ourselves to just have all the fun we were having.
Remember
and that was very much
Remember that episode?
Oh my God, we're going to talk about it. That's an entire episode that I'd love to dissect with you because that's such a defining episode.
I think
for both
Boxed In couldn't happen without this scene.
Yes, but by the way, that scene, big part of that scene, and the reason why it works is because of Carter Finch.
That guy.
Just so good.
Unbelievable.
Do you think he remembers this? Do you think if we ever bump into him, you would be like, oh my God, you did an episode of NCIS?
Well, it's so funny to me.
Because by the way, we have had people like, big people, like John Cryer apparently at the beginning, he was like, oh, I just want to be a dead body in this. And that came to me either by you or Mark. They're like, oh yeah, that guy's great. He's so good. He's such a good actor. But I guess he watched the show at some point and he was just like, all I want to be is a dead body. And I remember thinking like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Cryer's super cool. He and his wife were just the coolest. And when he did finally come and work, he was hilarious because of course, Cryer was Ducky back in the Molly Ringwald days. And then he worked with Ducky. Anyway, go again, rabbit hole yourself to tickle yourself right where you're pink. What?
Oh, God.
For me, that would be the inside of my ear.
Okay, keeping it real.
Hello. Is this on? So this, I have to say, the Chip Sterling character, which we're going to get to later, he features here. And watching Abby just get irked beyond irked. She does not.
Yeah, because that's not a common Abby thing.
She does not like to have someone in her lab.
Nice shoes. Who are you?
Charles Sterling. You're a new assistant, ma'am.
I did not order a new assistant.
When you are bothering Abby, it's a big bother. And I think that the audience and the producers and writers and everybody found out that if Abby doesn't like someone that comes onto the show, that person will never be liked. Because she's almost like a dog in the sense that, like, if a dog likes you, you got to like believe the dog, right? Because the dog has an instinct. And if the dog is like, I don't know about you, then you're like, I don't know about you either. It's there's something instinctive about Abby.
Yes. There's a purity about the character.
And if she doesn't like Chip, then the audience is like,
ooh, suspicious. Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. You find that stuff even in the third year of a show. So I'm going to give you the episode synopsis, and it's a doozy. All right, hold on a second. Let me get my Robert Wagner glasses out. They're a little dirty. Okay. A Marine sergeant's wife is thought to have been abducted until Gibbs and his team found evidence to suggest she may have been murdered live on a sex site. However, with the help of her new assistant, Chip Sterling, Abby determines that the CD video might not be all that it seems.
I think you may have a future at voiceovers.
What do you think?
I mean, that was pretty deep. Something about it is.
Should I do it faster?
Do it faster.
Okay, I'm going to do it faster. A Marine sergeant's wife is thought to have been abducted until Gibbs and his team found evidence to suggest that she may not have been murdered. It's hard to do. A Marine sergeant's wife is thought to have been abducted until Gibbs and his team found evidence to suggest she may have been murdered live on a sex site. However, with the help of her new assistant, Chip Sterling, Abby determines that the CD video might not be all it seems.
Wow, one breath. That was impressive.
Hey,
And with that...
I dreamt I was riding a magic buffalo. Yeah, I'm mostly in Bitcoins now. I'm diversifying my portfolio.
Suddenly I have a overwhelming urge to do some charity work.
Oh, it's just, something I ate. It's like the invasion of the Brooks Brothers body snatchers in here. Nothing little ice, rest, and dental work won't fix. You want me to take my pants off?
Yeah.
Maybe we should dim the lights a little bit, put on a little nude music, huh? A little Sade. But whatever.
Well, if I had a nickel for every time I was almost shot in the back of the head, I could take us all to Cabo.
I'm Michael Weatherly.
And I'm
Strong start.
And you're here with us off duty. Something like that.
It's amazing.
Like
and we got Eric Christian Olsen here.
I'm here
Yeah,
for
we
it.
do.
It's such a sultry, sexy voice.
It's so funny because when I started
Wait,
doing...
can you switch the voice?
No, keep it. Keep it.
It's just going to throw me off. Sorry, what is
Or is it going to
this?
throw you on?
In a world.
In a
What
world.
is that?
Here's the thing. This is a somewhat unusual off-duty episode. We are going to
What
talk about...
episode are we on, by the way?
We're on... We don't know. But it's...
Is it 300 or is it 7?
No, it's
Here's
7.
what we're doing.
Episode 7.
Is it?
Straight to heaven.
Okay, guys, we don't... You don't... But in today's episode, we're going to be talking about season 3, episode 6, Voyeur's Web.
Oh, yeah, which was a very memorable
It was
one
my
for us.
favorite ever.
It's the one that was actually banned.
It was. I remember
by-
when it was banned.
Yeah.
Because I was upset as a viewer.
And we
because
had-
of the porn stuff, right?
And just the general...
Wait, what?
The general nature of the program was disrespectful to the humans. So...
Well, we did
that's
that a
what
lot.
we did. And we were...
What happened? Tell me more.
I think it just had to do with, like, at the time it was kind of controversial because of all the porn stuff, right?
What
it was
porn
online
stuff?
porn stuff.
And
You're not
also
in
we-
this episode, so it doesn't matter.
So you can't talk.
I'll come back. You guys talk to the episode.
can't
I'll
talk.
come back at the end and then just do what I do.
All right,
How
let me
did
just
you-
get back
wait,
in
but
character.
I want to know something. What were you doing when you got cast in the NCIS world? Like, where were you?
He was doing
Give us a little
prequels. He did a prequel to
did
The Thing. You did
35
Dumb and
prequels.
Dumber.
I did so many. And Not Another Teen Movie.
Hello.
Fired Up prequel.
Yeah, talk
I
to us
did,
about prequels.
I did. That's a fair question. I wanted to start a family and I was gone shooting movies all year long. And I said, this is unsustainable. Watched so many relationships.
Talk about why it's unsustainable for our podcast audience at home.
Because I
That's
don't
a
think a lot of people
great
understand
question.
the idea that the schedule sometimes can be very challenging.
But
and
shooting
it's not-
project to project, you're doing
Yeah.
a movie here, you're doing a TV movie
and you're
here.
also,
you're doing-
yeah. and
Very
you're also
seldom
flying.
does something shoot in Los Angeles.
So
And
talk about the locations that you would be in.
yeah, you're flying all over to do a movie. Most of the time you're shooting in Vancouver or New Mexico. I shot like 3 movies in a row in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if you've ever been to Albuquerque, New
Fun
Mexico,
location.
not the place you want to raise
No.
a family. We just lost that demographic in the podcast.
It's
And I
all
said I want to be in LA. And
By
they
the way, that's
Vancouver?
the weather in Vancouver right now.
44?
What is it?
No, just look, rain,
All rain. It
rain,
rains
rain,
for the
rain,
next
rain, rain,
10
rain.
days.
That's-
That's bananas.
No, but that's Vancouver.
I know.
And God
That's not
bless you.
LA.
Vancouver.
You were doing a show in Vancouver.
I
think
did
when we
Dark
first met.
Angel in Vancouver.
How many seasons?
And I did 2 seasons there. I did Cabin by the Lake, which was a Judd Nelson USA movie of the week. I did an episode of The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. That's when also
Is
you
that a music video?
got to pay your rent. That's called the custody battle episode.
Oh,
Oh,
dark.
Oh, dark.
Well,
Listen, we'll go there. But
It's-
yeah, so
it's true.
you shot in Norway.
I didn't shoot in Norway. The Thing we shot in...
but you're 87% Norwegian.
I'm 81% Norwegian.
81. Oh.
The Thing we shot in Alaska. We shot in Toronto. We shot all over. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to be in Los Angeles. And so I was like, I want to join a show that shoots in LA. Can we find one?
Right.
And they said, well, there's this show called NCIS.
And you were like, oh,
And I said,
anything but that.
Never heard of it. And they
Right.
said, it's the #1 show on TV. And it's starring you guys. And they said, and they're doing a spinoff. It's in their first season and they just killed off like 3 characters. Do you want to go and audition for that? Because they're looking for a cop. And that's how the conversation happened. I didn't join the show until the end of season 1.
So and how was the audition? Did you have to audition like with someone in the cast?
Literally, it was just, they had been through, and this is, God bless Danny, she knows the story, so I'm repeating it without...
Danielle Arua.
She had auditioned like guy after guy after guy, and they brought in and had him do like guest stars, and it didn't work, and they just kept cycling through. So I came in for Shane Brennan, who was the showrunner at the time, and he gave me
He
was your showrunner.
At some point.
Yeah.
He saw your stubble and he was like, I'm in. Because he has stubble.
He does have stubble. That's essentially how
he looked at you and he thought,
said,
that's a better looking version of me.
That's exactly. That was a direct quote from Shane at that moment.
You're a taller, more handsome, lankier, possibly less koala version of me. He's Australian. That's a koala joke.
I feel like I can't touch that. But he gave me sides opposite Danny, and I did it, and I improv'd a couple of times, and he goes, I feel like you've got other stuff you want to try. And I was like, well, I don't understand the dynamic in the scene. Like, what's the relationship? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know what the relationship is based on this scene. He's like, well, try some stuff. And so I improv'd a whole monologue, just like you do, about a motorcycle and an ex-boyfriend and the whole thing.
Get him.
And that they were like, but they knew the success of the mothership at that time was your ability to combine what you do, which is comedy, a love story, but also drive plot. And they wanted that, I think, on NCIS.
And the lines are very important, and we love and respect and regard our writers with, I bow to them every day. You got to have the structure and the framework. But what we do is the energy source. When you come to a character, it's you plug yourself into the part, whatever that is, if it's Deeks or whatever, but it's your like combustion and energy and the source of you, the life source of you that you push into it. And without that, you're just reciting, you're just saying words and, it's your point of view that's the only thing that makes anything interesting in acting. And that's why I think when it connects, like when you're like, I don't know what this scene's about, but then it's easy to make something up if you have a point of view.
Yeah.
But if you have to learn someone else's point of view and adopt their point of view and try to and also
be given the freedom to be able to do exactly what you did, and that's such a generous gift.
Oh my God.
Not a lot of people give you that.
And I'm realizing in this moment, the only reason that I was given that gift is because they saw that it worked with you. And that I didn't know that wasn't from the start. So I think the fighting for that, which was Harmon and you, and then at some point Shane recognized that. And then he just tried to duplicate.
So when you're watching movies or TV, particularly television, because the grind is so intense, when you're watching an episode of something, we won't name any shows.
The Bear, Succession.
No.
Where are we?
No. It's like
procedural.
Those are really good, by the way.
And you see that dead, shallow shark eye in the actor, and you just see them going, it looks like we have 3 suspects. The first suspect is Casey DeLongpre, 24. And you just are like, they're just reading like, I got to that place. I was telling you off camera before, when I was doing Bull, I got to the place where I didn't know how to fill up the character. I kind of got disconnected from my life source. I didn't have that ability, which was so flowing on NCIS that when you're in that flow, it's like being in love. You just think like, oh, this is easy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, love will be tested.
How did you balance that, by the way? How did you balance the whole family thing with work? I mean, the long hours, how did you do that? Because you've got a pretty solid family.
Yeah,
and last time I bumped into you while I was hiking.
You were hiking.
Yeah.
You were just
you were making plans to do stuff with the family. And I mean, it seemed like you have like a pretty great thing going on. How do you do that?
I think that's probably true for everybody listening to the podcast as well as you guys, which is that you have to actively
prioritize.
Yes. And I think it's a struggle on a regular basis. And we were all doing like
you also have like the quintessential awesome wife.
I have the most. You
have the rock solid,
she's
like
incredible.
Like I'm going to be home. I'll take care of the fort. But that's hard too.
But she's not. I mean, she has a really successful podcast. I don't know if you saw American Made with her opposite Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
Like she was working all the time. She started a company, Bayo. You know Bayo, baby?
Oh, yeah.
So she has that. She has a podcast. She wrote 2 books. Like she works crazy.
My understanding is that what happens is you sign a 6-year contract, people at home. And then if you stay on for more than 6 years, if the gods bless your TV show with more, you have to renegotiate your contract, which usually means more money. But at a certain point, money versus time becomes a question. Didn't you have some of that in you, or are you cool talking about how you approached some of those negotiations?
Yeah, I heard about this and I was like, oh, that's such a great question.
You heard about what I did?
Yes.
Yeah.
What did I do?
Well,
Something
that you were interested in making sure that the show understood your time.
Oh, yeah. I stopped asking for more money and asked for time.
Ooh.
And so I
You were like, the money's enough.
Well, I just knew in that work for balance, which is that those hours are crazy. And when you do them for 10 months straight, it burns you in a way where, and I will have to get your quote on this because I've told it probably 50 times, which is when you get on a TV show, it's like being on a shipwreck that lands on a desert island.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember telling you this?
Mm-hmm.
And each season is a different realization. And as you get into season 7, everything becomes in question. It's full existential crisis of like how I'm spending my bandwidth, what I'm doing, what are my values, like all these questions.
Right, because the desert island thing is initially it's
Have you told this on the podcast yet?
No, it's just
Have you heard it?
No, I have one that's very similar and I was just thinking about it.
You got to get water, you got to get shelter. Like the first season
you're
is just
so
survive.
Stoked. You I am over the moon that I'm here.
And I got to survive.
Yes.
But I'm on a desert island. There's sun. And then the second season, you're like, okay, now I've built actually a better shelter. It's not the lean-to.
Yeah.
Now I've actually taken some time. Third season, you're like, I found a better fresh spring deeper into the desert island. I've fermented the coconuts and I've figured out how to get drunk on some coconuts. And then by the fifth season, you're like, you have your main cottage that you've now constructed, but there is a cool like cliff over by the water. You built a little guest cottage for yourself deeper in the island. And then by the 10th year of the desert island, you've got like 3 houses you've built on the island. You've got your own little distillery. You've got like clothing that you've made from this stuff. And that's when you realize, oh, fuck, I could have built a boat and gotten off this goddamn island.
Oh, that's so interesting. It's so different
and
than how I've retold your story.
It kind of slowly goes dark.
Oh, that was my bull desert island.
I think that was your bull desert island because this one was like by the time the coconuts and you're partying, everybody's just like, and then it just starts getting darker and then you start questioning and then people start bailing. They just walk into the sea. And you're like, are you coming back?
Not to overdram, I mean, boo-hoo, go cry in a bag of money. You're making TV. But the truth is...
No, we're incredibly fortunate. Let's start with that.
But the truth is that, especially in the beginning when you're really finding a show, the first few seasons of NCIS, finding...
You had 130
we were doing
calls.
6-day weeks for 10...
Forced calls.
Oh, my God.
No, you guys.
Yes.
Mark told me it was like 130 forced calls, which for the people means like that's not enough time to recuperate or sleep. And
right.
Forced call end up in the hospital.
It's a 12-hour turnaround. So if you
but that doesn't include travel time.
That means they technically can't call you till 8 o'clock the next day.
So we would shoot until Friday morning, we would wrap. Friday morning, we would wrap at 6 a.m.
Yep.
Get in your car and get in traffic from Santa Clarita, driving. And it would take, I was in Malibu the first season. So it would take me like 2.5 hours to get home. I'd get home at 8:30 in the morning and I'd go out on this little deck I had, which other people were on their decks having breakfast. And I was drinking a bottle of wine at 8:30 in the morning, smoking a cigar. I'm like, it's night to me. It's different. Just pretend we're in Sweden. It's fine.
Yes, but what made the experience so good is the fact that you could go to set and have a blast. Because for me, for example, I've never been so tired, especially that third, that season 3, which was, my first time ever, going into a set and just being like cranking them out, Right. First, I couldn't believe I was getting paid because I felt so fortunate, but also every single time, and I was tired and maybe, sleep deprived and all that stuff, I'd drive to set and I was like, oh, I can't wait to do this again. And I felt like I held on to that feeling for a long time.
Okay.
That sense of gratitude.
Here's the...
do you remember what Mark used to do, right before scenes, especially at the beginning?
Slap me?
No. We'd be in the middle of a crime scene, and I'd have to pop up with some information, as we all do, and he'd fill the backpack with rocks at the beginning. These were his jokes. He was like, oh, let's see how DePablo takes this joke. And I was like, oh, yeah, this little shit. But I'd walk in and I pretended like it didn't faze me. I was just like, let's just rock and roll with this, But even through all of that, which
were
these
sandbags.
these little pranks and everything, he was great at pranking, by the way. I was still like, I was with this terrific group of people, and I was genuinely having fun. And even though we were sleep deprived and we were tired and all that stuff, we were genuinely doing what we love to do.
Okay,
that has to be the heading to all of this conversation. Which
no,
is
I mean, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here
right.
talking about
Did
it.
you have
if
an
it
Uber
wasn't
Eats that came in?
Yes, I just did order some shrimp cocktails.
So here's the story. Here's the story, though.
But no, but that should be echoed again. Like the greatest job. And I think there's something about like dreams and hopes and expectations, and then you're actually doing it. But the logistical part of it also is a real thing.
Right.
And, and it's very funny that you talk about dreams, because I talk about dreams all the time. Look, chasing after dreams will always come with a bill at the end. It's what bill are you willing to pay?
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's always. You always chase after a dream. You're always going to get a bill, because there's always, when you focus your energy into something, you're always going to forget or not be able to vibe at the same frequency with something else that you may care.
The balance of it all.
Right, the balance of it all.
Which
Which is
conversation.
The entire conversation with you has been like, we were talking right before you came in about, hey, this dude actually found like some level of balance here. And during his negotiation, he didn't ask for money, he asked for time.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point during one of my negotiations, I asked for time too, and they gave me like a week. And I was like, oh man, that's like terrific. Because I was going back home to South America.
Yeah.
And by the time I got there, I would only get 10 days, because I had to wait. And then the flying was really, a long time to go back home. And so I was like, let me just, I never got around to doing it. But it was interesting that it was one of the things that towards the end I really had to fight for.
Yeah.
Because it was
guys, I just
sense
went
of
for the money.
balance.
I'm so sorry. I was like,
nothing wrong with
the
that.
wipeout.
Yeah.
And the wipeout.
Well, and
I
the
was like,
wipeout.
I'm going to have a room in my house that's just gold bars. That's all
And I'm
I
going to
want.
bathe in it. My backs are going to be.
No, sometimes I just go in and touch it. I just naked. I walk in naked. The family knows to stay
It's like an
downstairs
emperor.
when I'm up in the weird. It's not a big room because you don't need a lot of gold. But here's the story I want to tell about Cote and Pablo. And it's her first season, her first couple of episodes. We're shooting 2 stages, 2 different episodes simultaneously, as you do.
I think I know the
and
story.
she's finishing a scene, and she's still learning what a call sheet is, where it is on the thing, and so she finishes the scene, and it's a long scene, and you finish in coverage, right?
Of course.
And
coverage for audiences are close-up shots.
Close-ups, and
by
that
the way,
is the most stressful part is your coverage.
And I'm hanging out with them, just like we're basically done, and I'm hanging out with them,
right?
Just hanging out.
And all of a
'cause I'm
sudden,
having so much fun.
another AD appears with the pink call sheet, and they're like, "Cody, so as soon as you're done with your coverage, they're waiting for you on stage D." And she's like, "What are we doing?" And they're like, "We're doing the 4-page autopsy scene with Ducky. He's waiting. They're ready. They're just going to change your top. You're going to keep the same pants on because we have to go."
Actor's nightmare.
She hadn't read the scene.
No,
I live for this.
And she had
wait.
speeches.
A monologue going into autopsy, circling a body,
emotional,
with delivering exposition
they
about.
blocked it with second team already. It's ready. We're ready to shoot.
Oh, and you know what they did? So I tried.
Talk about the moment.
Oh God, it was
Talk
just
about the
no. I
moment.
mean,
Go
I
back
went
there.
home and I cried and I cried and I cried
No, but-
because I felt like such a failure. So they gave
So
me
you
a
went
little
and did
time.
it and then went home and cried?
Well,
the
because
story.
it's a story, right? So they go, well, and of course this guy who's just like, acting in a can, like just basically like, just learn it, just do it. And I'm like,
Who knows what's in it? It's spam. Maybe it's pig nails. We don't know what we're eating.
I don't work this way. I'm coming from the theater. I need like at least a couple of hours to memorize something, get it into my body. They're like, no, it doesn't work like that here. Just go into your trailer and look at it a couple of times and just go and deliver. And I was like, right. So
good.
I try and I go in and I'm like, oh, this is miserable. I can't do this. And at the time, and I remember the director, the director
shall not be named.
He just said,
"Ooh, that vodka is strong." Thank you for that, by the way.
Of course.
he said,
I don't come empty-handed.
No, thanks.
I know
That was a
better.
nice gift. Norwegian.
Is it?
Oh,
It's Wednesday.
it's done.
Okay, so the director
the
who shall not
director
be
comes
named.
up to me and goes,
Who's the
oh
director?
God, it doesn't matter. You could literally just be saying 1, 2, 3, 4. It's such a wide shot. It doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. So I go,
who is
wait,
this
1
director?
second. So I go, oh yeah, well, that's a great idea. Action. 1, 2, 3.
You actually say 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah.
Oh my
'Cause
God.
She doesn't understand that he was just.
It was just a theoretical of
yeah.
like,
I mean, if you're going to give me that, and I'm an actor, and it's my first, and it was, what was it, like episode 6?
Who are you
I mean, it was
opposite?
just-
Right out of the gate. We will
So what
not
happened?
speak of it. We will not
So-
speak of it. Don't speak.
No, you don't have to name the
No,
director.
then the producers who are the best, right? Mark Horowitz and Shills and all those guys, they came down and they realized I genuinely didn't know. And to be fair, I wasn't given the second unit thing.
Right.
So I genuinely didn't know. I genuinely didn't know. And so they knew that I was like game. I would go home, I would study. I was like the biggest geek, right? Yeah. I was like a theater geek. I was like, where are my lines? Let me, drill them, And so they're like, look, Cody, we're going to start with the scene tomorrow morning, go home, learn it, and we're just going to pick up. Don't worry about it, So
Disaster.
of course, I didn't sleep because I was like, now I'm like all paranoid. And I go in the next day and I do it. I really would like to ask you for something.
Yeah, of course.
We all at NCIS have something which we call gun face.
Gun face?
I would like to see
show
your gun face.
Just show the gun face.
We all have different.
Okay, I'll show you mine. I always do my mouth a little open.
Mine was always just.
Yeah, it's literally just a little bit squinty.
No.
Okay, but show us.
You have to show us.
I'm doing it.
To pull your weapon.
Pull your weapon.
Oh, so
do it.
Here? It's just this.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, yeah, it's a hot
you
one.
go Cro-Magnon with the brow.
Yeah, you do.
It's less of a squint. It's more of a brow.
It's so funny because Danny would get so upset when she was given the last line in a scene.
Sure, the tag.
And I would improv after it. And then she would get mad and improv after my improv. And so hers would always be terrible. She'd be like, she'd like put him in the sky or whatever she's supposed to say. And I go, you heard the lady. And then she'd be like, you heard him. Tell me. And I was just like, she back at her.
She wouldn't double down on the sky.
It was just amazing. And I could not stop laughing. So I'd be doing my gun face and she'd be doing her gun face and I'd throw and she would get so mad.
Right. Hands in the air. Federal agents. Federal agents.
I love that rule.
How many times?
She's the best.
How many times did you play the moment where you walked in with your guns drawn saying federal agents on undercover cops who pulled their guns on you? And they were like, we're federal agents. We played that beat like 8 times.
Because it doesn't get old, that beat.
Well, we had one that I used to look forward to the most.
The one everybody yells it up? Scott Gemmell wrote one that was like, CIA, FBI. And then I go, MOUSE. And like just completely threw it away. And I was like, this seems fucking super lame. He goes, just try it.
Yeah.
And it totally killed. It totally killed. Like everyone's yelling,
I had so much fun when I came to do, remember when we were shooting in...
Yeah, where were you in your head when you came to play with us? By the way, you broke a finger.
I did break a finger.
I'll tell you where he was
I lost a nail.
He kept fucking rolling.
How much are they paying me?
Yeah, but so if that was your headspace.
My 25th episode of that season. That was my 25th because I did 24 of the mother and then I did.
And then came to us.
And then I came to you.
And you were like such a joy to have on set.
Yeah. Well,
you were
always
so
a joy.
fun.
You know.
It's a conflicting joy. But
I think I just
did
remember.
You have fun? Did you have fun on that?
So much fun. I remember Miguel looking at me and he was just like, you don't know any of the lines. And I was like, never. And he's like, how does Mark Harmon handle that? I'm like, it's been tough. It's been work. I'm Mark's teacher.
Mark is your teacher too.
We are all learning from each other.
Yeah.
We're all each other's teachers. Okay, so every episode of Full Swing, what's this thing called again?
Off duty.
Full Swing is so good.
Today's episode
overboard.
Full
Swing.
Every
on full disclosure
of Swab the Decks. Here are the NCIS spin-off questions. As you know, NCIS is a spin-off of
Jag.
Okay. I'm going to name a spin-off. Tell me the show it came from.
Okay.
Because NCIS LA was a spin-off of
NCIS.
That one's pretty easy.
The mothership.
Okay. Better Call Saul. Spin-off from?
We just talked about it.
Which one?
The director.
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul.
Oh, that's
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
Okay. The Jeffersons.
Before my time.
Yeah, that's done by that wonderful producer.
Who just passed.
Norman Lear.
Norman Lear. I just read his book.
Oh, you can say pass. We'll come back to it.
Oh, pass.
Okay. Frasier.
Cheers.
Okay. All right. Angel.
Dark Skies.
Angel.
Oh, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Really?
See, I had to repeat it.
I thought you were on a show called Angel.
I was on a show called Dark Angel, which was the stupidest name for a show when there's another show on the same network that's called it. Anyway. Laverne and Shirley.
No idea. Bosom Buddies.
Cheers?
No. And by the way, Mark Harmon was on an episode of Laverne and Shirley. Laverne and Shirley, like Mork and Mindy, was a spinoff of Happy Days.
Oh, whoa! I didn't know that.
And Joni loves Chachi. Okay, let's go back to the Jeffersons.
I wasn't allowed to watch TV as a kid, so this isn't anything.
So the Jeffersons, you're right. Norman Lear, I think you get a point just for knowing that was the producer. All in the Family.
Never saw it.
Carol O'Connor. And incredible 70s sitcom about a working class American family.
Moving up.
Who he would talk a blues
theme
string.
Song, Moving On Up.
No, that was the Jeffersons.
That's what I thought we were talking about.
Oh, the Jeffersons was a spinoff of
All in the Family.
You guys,
which was Richie Bitch.
Okay, how about Family Matters?
Archie Bunker. Archie Bunker.
Is
he the lead of that show?
Yeah. Okay, you win.
We use that as a prototype.
Family Matters.
It's such
a spinoff of.
Family Matters was Urkel, and that was on Friday night.
It was a spinoff. I didn't even know this.
The Cosby Show.
Markland Baker, I believe, is that his name? Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers did a spinoff into.
Evidently,
I don't think that's true.
Okay, you got into a fight, a fictional fight, with LL Cool J in your first episode. You had a scuffle with Sam.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because obviously you knew that the ladies love Cool James and you didn't want to get into it.
But also he's built like a brick shit house. I mean, what the hell?
So was it intimidating? How did he make you feel either intimidated or did he make you feel like you were...
I mean, obviously there was going to be some sort of stunt thing going on. Like
but
everything was going to be highly coordinated.
Filming.
But he has an album called Mama Said Knock You Out.
Yeah, he is so unbelievably strong. He's pro athlete strong, like linebacker NFL strong.
And he trains. I mean, he finds the time to train.
That is part of his bandwidth.
It's his thing.
Yeah, he gets up at 4 a.m.
It's a big thing for him.
Yeah.
I think it's also a head thing. Like he needs it for his,
I think we probably all do some version of that.
But I want to hear like you're meeting LL Cool J for the first time.
Exactly.
You're walking into a room. He's the most famous rapper. Yeah. It's like this huge...
I grew up in Iowa rolling my pant leg up, like doing Mama Said Knock You Out.
And by the way,
I'm a huge fan.
He could not be nicer.
He's the best.
He's the
best.
I love that guy.
But I was supposed to learn all the blocking, and I think I was shooting something else and didn't make it to the blocking, so I had to learn it that morning.
That made me nervous just thinking about it. Okay.
And so it's and I think this is my first episode. And that scene is super early on. No, we had a scene with Chris and Todd before this where Todd is LL Cool J. And they did some lines back and forth, and it's my coverage, and I go, "You two are adorable." It was an improv.
Oh yeah.
And the look on their face is like, the fuck did this kid just say? So that had already been established, which is this kid's been on there for like one day at this point, and he improvs, "You two are adorable." And they both looked at each other and looked at me and just like,
that's not the word.
Looked around. But they were totally down for it. I mean, I think it's that they recognized that was a value add. So we did the rehearsal. We're blocking it together. And I stepped in when I wasn't supposed to step in, and he was throwing a punch, and he pulled the punch at the last second, but he still caught me, and it stunned me, and I buckled. And we have not shot a fucking frame yet.
And then you're like, "Get my brother in here."
And no, because Dave wasn't my stunt double. This is my first episode. I'm sure it's like I have a double, but I hadn't, but so at this point, I'm like,
Did it hurt?
Yeah, it hurt. It's like, and I've taken hits in ice hockey. I buckled, like my knees went, oh, all right. And then I was like, okay, and now we have to film it. And I was like, I'm so fucked. That dude was such a pro. We did it 4 times. They never put the doubles in. Every punch that he perfectly pulled it. And if you watch that scene back, there is no doubles. It's great. And I went home and I took my shirt off and my wife laughs at me. She's like, "Oh my God." I was like, "What?" She goes, "Look in the mirror." And you look in the mirror and I'm like a zebra. It's just black and blue from that dude being that powerful, but not ever, following through. I mean, so that was my first day, or that was my second day of shooting on NCIS LA. Was that fight
story.
I loved it.
By the way, like you could always tell that story. Like my first day with LL Cool J
was this huge fight scene.
Like
and he was unbelievable. And
I was on this.
By the way, that's a guy that works everything.
Nonstop.
Music, nonstop. He trains. He has all sorts of, I mean, he does everything.
Rock the bells. He would travel on the weekends to do concerts. He would show up after an hour's sleep. Like I've never seen anything like it. And the balance that he maintains with his family and his faith and his business, like it's incredible.
He's a pretty impressive.
It's unbelievable.
He runs his entire body like a machine. I bet you whatever you want, the whole training thing and the scheduling and the structure.
Yeah. And that could, and back to our work-life balance thing, you know, that could suck you into like being a monster or something. But I remember being on the set with you guys for that fun episode, and we were waiting, and Todd had not, LL Cool J hadn't come from his trailer, and we were all waiting on the set, and you were like, come on. And you just pulled out your phone and you were like, hey, man, we're waiting on set. Like, what's going on? And I was like, oh my God, you can just call LL Cool J and tell her. And he was like, I'm in the middle of this. I gotta, he had something that he was finishing an interview with somebody or something. Yeah. And you hung up and I was like,
I was like, that wouldn't happen on our set.
You can just do that.
Yeah. And the phone call is easy to make because I know that LL, if he knows that we're waiting on him, he would be horrified. Sure. So that's an easy phone call to make. That he's not going to bark at me. If I would have learned from him, like, I don't give a fuck, and he hangs up, then I don't do it again. But because I know that he values your time and everybody else's time, that he's like, I'm just finishing this thing up. I'll be there in a half a second.
Well, I would imagine he's like a total pro.
He's a total pro.
Everything that he has to do in his time management.
And what's interesting,
he wouldn't be able to do it if he
phone call.
Yeah, he has this thing where like he can memorize lines. And what I would do towards the last 5 or 6 seasons is I wouldn't look at them until the rehearsal. And so I would get 3 or 4 pages of dialogue, and I would get that rush of like, and now I have to memorize all this. And I would do it.
I loved doing that.
Because it made you feel so alive. But LL has that too, where he can just like gobble up 4 pages.
Lauren Pauly used to do that too. She came from the soap world.
Where she would just
look at something and then go, put the pages down and then just do it.
And then just go.
And you were like, oh.
Yeah, LL has that.
I would do that and then get everything wrong.
But it still works.
That's so not true. That's so not true.
So
he was uncanny, this guy. He would do the same thing. He would just look and then he would just do it.
You also have the ability to, like, in a scene, like where your improvs are servicing A, humor, B, story, and propelling the plot. Like
but they were always character based.
Yes.
Always.
And on point
Always.
with character. It was never, you weren't stepping outside of your character to make a joke. They went in saying, like, we just got to make sure that it's always tethered to reality and we don't diminish stakes. And so all those choices were like, I can swing big and make big choices as long as I don't diminish the stake or lose character. And I think that's from like watching you navigate that and knowing what works and what doesn't. But they would just let me try all sorts of stuff. Shane actually came in, I don't know what season this is, 4 or 5, and gave a big speech about improvs and staying on book. And, you know, the writer is the god and we need to stick to this stuff. And I was just like horrified. I'm terrified at this point. I was like, what am I doing here? And then he gave that whole big speech. And he's like, Olsen, come here. And he came over to me and he goes, you just keep doing what you're doing.
I had a very similar thing happen. I believe it was season 2. I don't think you were there yet. But it was in the script. I was in Abby's lab, as I recall, and it said, Abby says this thing about the mass spectrometer found, blah, blah, blah. And then it says Tony. And then in parentheses, Don just wrote, Michael will do something funny here.
I mean, and you should have framed that.
Yeah.
Because what that's saying is
freedom.
But it's also trust.
Right.
What he's saying is like, as a person that was so dedicated to his stories and his words, he was like, I'm trusting you that you're going to do something here that's going to.
But by the way,
and of course, what I would do is I sat down and I wrote like 10 alternates.
Yep.
And then I walked around and then I had them like,
no pressure.
I had them in the quiver.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's that one. It's the one with the little feathers. Yep. It's that one.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then
that's a superpower.
When we were shooting in, I think it was West Hollywood, and we were coming out of like a plastic surgeon's office or something.
You and I?
And out onto the street. And we were doing something about how somebody looked like somebody.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just remember getting the giggles. And we talked about this the other day with Sean Murray, but I only laughed really uproariously once when I was making Bull. Only one time in 125 episodes.
I'm sorry.
I laughed so hard almost every day shooting NCIS and on your show. Yeah. But I remember that being the one where I almost couldn't keep it together for the rest. And people are like, come on, dude, we got lunch in 15 minutes. Like, get it together.
It was an improv. It was yours or mine or one of us.
I think it was yours. I think you were telling me that I was getting a little puffy like Alec Baldwin. It was one of those kinds of things. And it was good. It was like Alec Baldwin's sober, but that is some white wine bloat. But I'm sure he's totally sober. But it kind of looks like maybe he's got
That was Dennis. Didn't Dennis direct that episode?
He did. And another podcaster was a guest in that episode. Ooh. The comedian.
Bobby Lee?
Bobby Lee.
Obsessed.
But do you remember he was amazing.
Bathrobe? I remember we were talking to Dennis and I was like, you just stay in the 3-shot because it was him. No, it was you, Bobby, and then me behind something with our weapons pulled. And he was just,
he's like, oh.
Yeah. How is that? How is he in the podcast? Incredible.
No, he hasn't been here.
Oh, you guys.
But he has his own podcast.
Right? But you should have him on.
We should go be on his podcast.
He's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. And to go back to Dennis, because I think justice needs to be done to how special he is. Like, he directed the first episode that I wrote, which was an impossible episode. It was like 105 scenes. He is a beautiful and wonderful and fantastic human being. And
he was one of our favorites. Yeah.
He knows how to get the lumps out of the batter.
Yeah.
And
he can shoot it in a way that gets you home to your family.
Oh, yes. And that's a big thing. That's a big
And he would come up to us and be like, so that 1 1/8 page at the end of the day,
oneer.
It's a oneer.
Yeah, I love
that.
And
he'd prep you.
Yep.
So you knew not to screw around. And then we'd get on set and Billy Webb would have the Steadicam up and Dennis would be like, shoot the rehearsal. Yeah. So literally we've never said it out loud.
Yep.
And sound is like, come on, like, give us a rehearsal. Background is like, the second AD's like, wait, but I have to run background. It's like, wait, but it's a oneer. We don't have to match anything. Stop worrying. Because a oneer for the people at home means that there is no other shot. So
no cuts, nothing.
So you don't have to match any
just has to be
activity
great from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And by the way, that is the equivalent to
sort of like this
Donald
podcast.
Belisario saying, and Michael's going to say something funny. It's literally saying, like, it's a page and a half, you're in a oneer, and go. And that's a really validating, like, you can do this, because there's people that it wouldn't give it to.
And the mistakes that can happen with a bad background cross or the prop isn't in the right place. It's like you reach for your thing and you're like, that's not right. And you're still saying the lines and you get, because oh my God, I love the spontaneity. I'm very much looking forward to working with you again.
You guys, it's going to be so exciting.
I kind of wonder if we find ourselves in
You were one of the first people that I told, because that day was the day I found out. And ironically, I bump into him.
It would be lovely to see you in the NCIS universe again. NCIS. When they were killing off a lot of people on our show, it was no character is safe.
We got that speech. That's a fun speech for people to hear. That somebody was brought into our showrunner's office and he had bullets. Have you heard the story?
No.
Bullets.
I mean, that's kind of
4 bullets. And he goes, do you know what this is? And the person's like, no. He goes, this is, name the character, the first character he killed off. This is such and such. This is whoever I want it to be.
Oh.
Go back to work.
Yeah.
I was like,
wait, who said that?
That was our showrunner at the time. That was Shane. Shane said it. I was like, why am I? Because then they're confused with Scott. It was Shane. And it was to somebody who I think got a little, you take advantage of the situation.
Yes.
And when you're a machine, you can't do it. Like you be the person, you can't show up late. It's all the things that, all that stuff. And so that person was getting a little wild.
And I absolutely will cop to being, all of the things I've made every mistake. And the only good part about making all those mistakes is that I am aware of it. I'm self-aware that, when you keep pushing edges, sometimes you fall off the edge.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes you hurt people's feelings. Sometimes you do and it's like, okay, bring it back. You make a lot of television, you're going to make you're a short order chef. You're going to make some bad omelets, and somebody, you make 999 great omelets. It's the one that comes back with the shell in it and you're a bad chef, and then it gets in your head and it's all you're thinking about. I know that there were times when Polly Perrette would be upset with me and it would bum me out so much. And I'd be
why would she be upset?
Just because maybe I had a not so nice ad lib or I did something there, or maybe I was late or maybe I said something that inadvertently was a about New Orleans or something. You never know.
That's a funny thing because P was never really,
No, there was, you could, I knew if I had gone afoul, if I'd run into a thing.
And it would bug you?
And it would bug me. And I'd be like,
would it bug you when I was upset with you?
Well, I didn't want to say you because of course, of course, when people have that, the only person actually, I kind of loved the conflict with Harmon. I loved
That's
that
interesting.
because I felt like that gave it energy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he feels. I mean, boy, do I not know. I mean, I have no concept. I just know that he created a great obstacle all the time. And without that big rock in the middle of the river, it's not as interesting
But
a
I
river.
could say, I feel the same way about our dynamic. I feel like there were many moments you and I were like, I mean, I can remember many a time knocking on your trailer door and being like, oh my God, just.
I would do Jeff Bridges from Starman the whole day just to amuse myself. Or I would do Tom Hanks from The Money Pit just to amuse myself. And
you were doing that too? Because I would do the same thing.
I think everyone just said cheat. I think, did you ever do that? Oh, well, you're so fundamentally interesting. You didn't have to borrow.
Your other, I love that I get to say all these things back to you. The other thing you said, I was like, I deliver exposition so fast, like just to drill through it. And you said, no, the key to this is you find anything in the midst of the speech and decide that is the important part of it. And then you back off. And the audience who isn't really listening because they're doing 7 other things will be like, well, that was interesting, but it doesn't even matter. You could pick any part of that speech and highlight that thing. And then all of a sudden, and then I watch people, because exposition is the hardest thing to deliver. You get a page and a half.
We would make the exposition about a look between us or about him messing my hair.
But we always did
you find something in it. It's
or the
same
smell.
But it was always about that. Yeah, like
you'd find something in it to make it work.
something that was never about the exposition.
Yeah.
And
You made it
interrupting
about
somebody,
the character, like
interrupting somebody when they're in the middle of their paragraph.
It's amazing.
So much fun. Sean Murray and I used to do that to each other. And you're in the middle of this huge speech and you've memorized it and you're doing the thing. And then Sean's doing it and I'm watching it and I'm like, what's her name? And he's like, Mrs. Sivapada Syndrome. And I'm like, Sivapada Syndrome. Right. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
By the way, that's genius.
Yeah.
And all in fairness.
And the sound is like, we didn't pod that.
That wasn't scripted. We didn't know.
And the camera.
I guarantee they used it.
Oh, I mean, that's
Sometimes
like.
they did.
And
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And
it's a human moment.
I remember with Sean once, he was like this and he was doing this. And I was like,
oh,
no, that's not okay.
But
that's
like
all he's thinking about.
But right. But that's the thing is like, you just put it,
it's awful.
You put it into somebody's, it's like just a little,
One time I was doing a scene and I had a friend of mine who, by the way, works at the NCIS World, and she did the same thing. She was like, this. The entire scene, I was like, I couldn't even talk.
No.
I couldn't even talk.
And
Danny would tell me to stand up straight, but I asked her to tell me that. I was like, I get tired when I slouch. Can you tell me to stand up straight? She goes, stand up straight. And
here's what I understand this game to be.
I'm excited to play this game.
Okay.
I have no idea what this game is.
This is called segment number 2.
Accent
No,
work.
it's not. It's called accent work.
Strong start. You're seeing how the sausage is made. Everyone is given a scene below. We're all getting the same scene, and then we must pull an accent out of the hat, and then we have to do the scene in that accent.
Okay.
And others must guess what accent we're doing. So don't tell anybody what accent you get.
This is a hat from the from the Communist Party. I don't know where we got this hat. It's like somebody Che Guevara's
It may
ghost.
be Jeff's hat.
All right.
So okay. I made noise. I mean, that's how old I am now. I make noise when I reach.
Oh
for
wow,
things.
this is not what I thought I was gonna get.
Oh shit.
Keep your communist.
Okay, so
hat.
who's playing what?
Oh God! Can I return this?
I'm team leader.
Your team leader? Wait, that is at least okay. Great. So you want to be the agent? You want to be the suspect?
I'm the team leader.
No,
You're
I'm the
agent.
team
I'll
leader.
be suspect. All right.
They
just
told
start
you
that.
that?
Yeah.
Cody's the team leader.
Shit.
You see a little.
Well, you have the team leader has a ton of lines.
Okay, ready? I'll be the agent because you're a better actor. You to be the suspect.
So we have to guess each other's.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Okay, ready. Let's just go through it.
Okay, ready?
Okay, what? Oh, we gonna start?
Where were you on the night of October 25th?
I was at home. Why?
Your webcam says otherwise. The places you had scene of crime.
Is that it? That's it? It's impossible. Webcams can be hacked, right?
We found your digital fingerprints on
I remotely accessed the server, but didn't commit any crimes.
Hold on, Agent.
Oh, jeez.
We've got the game changer here. We just received a report.
Uzbekistan. Okay.
Oh my God!
Wait 1 second.
Say your next line.
Wait, is it me?
I'm reading.
We've already guessed yours. We've already guessed.
But it's not even. No, go again because I didn't hear it.
It's Madagascarese.
It's not fair.
No.
I never cut into your performance.
No, it's Namibian.
Go ahead. I'll take it from mine.
well,
I didn't commit any
that's
crimes.
fair,
Go. At this moment, team enter leaders briskly holding a folder. Who wrote this?
Hold on, Agent. We've got a game changer here. We just received the report, the webcam footage on the October 25th. It's been tampered with. Our tech team just confirmed that timestamps have been altered. The footage showing our suspect was actually from a week earlier.
I told you I didn't do it.
Quick wrap and say goodbye with Eric. Wait, no. You guys.
You have to guess now.
Okay.
Wait, no. My precious.
Yeah. Gollum.
Gollum.
I was Gollum. You got it right. So
You
what does
were-
she win?
Gollum?
My precious.
Yeah. Were you German?
I
You were
was
Dutch.
Dutch, but I was double Dutch.
Were you? The first take was Borat. The second take was like.
And by the way, I know how to do this accent really well. I just don't know what I just don't
Were
know
you doing
what
Margaret
happened.
Thatcher?
No, not at all.
I thought she was being on Armadillo. I thought it was like I thought it was a.
But hey, you can't. I fully committed.
Will you do one more line just in your accent?
No.
Just give me
Yes,
another
give
shot.
me another. Yeah, just so I
We
can
got
hear it.
Dutch and we got Gollum. We just haven't figured out yours. Ready? And action.
Yeah.
Okay, wait 1 sec, Maria. I cannot believe it that I am.
Maria, are you Italian?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
God.
Well, it's a good thing the acting thing worked out.
That was-
By the way, I was the most excited about this game. I was like, I'm gonna nail this.
We received a report. Our webcam footage from October the 25th is about tamper with.
Oh my God. I mean,
By the way, this was a fun game. We should definitely repeat.
you thought that was fun?
You bring.
Oh my God, this was the most fun.
Can you tell it's off duty?
Who came up with the title? Julie Mack?
Spotify.
What were the
I
other?
think you
What
pitched
were the
it.
alt?
I didn't.
No,
No, you know what we wanted to call it?
Yeah. Ziva.
I have no idea.
The Chicken and the Fox.
Oh, the chicken and the fox.
That's a great title.
The Chicken and the Fox. Who's the chicken?
Who do you think is the chicken? Who do you think is the fox?
He's the chicken. You're the fox.
It's obvious.
Damn.
You see, he's always finding to be the fox.
See, I wanted to do ham and cheese.
Who's
No.
the ham? Who's the cheese?
You're the cheese. He's the ham.
There we
The
go.
chicken and
She's-
fox is really
Because
good.
I'm cheesy.
Chicken and the Fox.
Also, one of the best characters in Moana is the chicken.
Yes.
And he's the chicken.
He's the chicken.
So
And I
you're
worked
the
with
best.
Chris Jackson, who played the in Moana. Never mind. I'm going to go now.
We all have to go pee. This is it. Goodbye, right?
Goodbye.
You left your clothes on the whole time. Can you show me some morning exercises? Do me cat. Show me cat.
Why does it feel so good when we finish like having an interview with somebody that's just so fuzzy and warm and open and well-spoken and smart and intelligent and
Funny.
funny? Somebody that can like play with us.
Open heart.
Very much.
Beautiful,
Very much.
beautiful human. He's connected and he cares.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Michael, fan questions.
Mm.
In an earlier episode, you said Mark Harmon is a mysterious dude and has a lot of secrets. Who among the cast is the worst at keeping secrets? Who?
Probably me.
I think you're right.
Who would be the best? Harmon.
Harmon, but also a Sean Murray.
Maybe Sean Murray, but I have a
I think
feeling
of
that
Sean
you could.
Murray's like-
I think if you tickled Sean with a feather long enough, you could get it out of him.
I
Harmon
think
is a crypt keeper. He knows.
I think between both of them, they could give each other a run for their
their
money.
psyops abilities are deep.
Deep.
I'm not that complicated. I'm just damaged.
Okay.
Hello.
Second question?
Go for it.
I think you should read it.
Oh, this is the oscillating fan question. I don't know why I think that's funny. My question for Cody is, who is your best friend on set in the early days of NCIS? Did that change later on?
Oh, yes. This is such a good question. So I think...
Changes.
Changes. I don't think we'd be sitting here if we didn't go through all of the things we went through at NCIS.
All the things.
You were one of my favorite people when I first met you during that audition. I was like, I hate this guy.
Hate him.
I don't like him.
Nope.
I think he's difficult. I think he's never going to give me my
You
cues.
felt about me the way I felt about me.
Of course. No. And
Wait.
this is the great thing about the story of how we met and how we became friends and all that stuff. And then we became really good friends.
Yes.
And then in the exploration of friendship, we went through many ups and downs. And so we were forged in fire, as I like to say. And today we are probably stronger friends than we've ever been, because I think we've lived through so much and we've allowed ourselves to see many a thing that we have gone through. I will say also, Mark was a great friend to me, a great friend, a great mentor, still is, and a guy that I love very much. He's a father figure in many ways, and I will always have deep, deep love for him.
Yeah, every relationship there, much like the show, David McCallum, meeting up with him in Europe with my wife, with David and Catherine, some of my fondest memories, the amount of time that I spent with Polly Perrette, just jabbering and jabbering and jabbering. And
having beers.
And laughing and having fun, and Polly, just the purity of Polly P. Love the P. And Sean Murray, like the growth and the changes of Sean Murray. And and the care and concern that we all had for each other as we went through, because...
And by the way, it manifested very differently. Some of us were really good about expressing that care and concern. Some of it has to, we had to deal with it in silence.
It fluctuated.
I mean, meaning like we all had our ways.
Sometimes you go into a hole and you're depressed and you're going through a thing. I mean, I know that I was single, then I was engaged, then I was married, then I had more kids, because I was married back in the 90s. And I mean, a huge arc and evolution of revolutions, and it changes. And so what a good fan question.
I actually like that. Changes.
Okay, and this is for both, so we'll each read a word. You start.
Come on.
I'll say you've
had a lot
of
guest
stars.
Oh, come on, this is awful.
It's
just
terrible.
read it.
Let's both read it at the same time.
Okay.
You've had a lot of guest stars on NCIS, but what's one actor or actress you wish had come on this show to act alongside you for one episode?
Why don't you? I think you had yours. That was Robert Wagner for you, if I may answer.
I just want the fan who wrote this to know you could have shortened that one up. That question could have been asked in less words.
Well, but it's okay.
Not a criticism, just a helpful.
Just
saying. Tighten it up. Any guest stars you would have liked to have seen?
You know what? I never thought of NCIS like that for me. Like, I was always so pleasantly surprised by the people we got. Mm-hmm. Like, there was never a moment that I went home and I was like, oh man, I wish so-and-so could be here.
So we're going to talk about James Garner for a second.
Oh yeah, James Garner. Well, he was supposed to be there.
He came for a table read.
He did.
And he was going to play Gibbs' father.
He was.
And I just remember that I was so nervous in front of him that I got up and I did class clown in front of him.
Of course.
And
how did that go?
He looked at me like, what are you? Who let you out of the
poor
cage?
Man.
Yeah.
Poor man.
I was doing an Australian accent. I think I was maybe making a little
I just remember going into the, to the reader's room and going up to him and just, saying, hi, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. And just, we were all so excited to have gotten a person like him. And he turned to me and he was just so loving and his eyes were just tingling and moving. He was like, oh, look at you. And he was just the best.
Do you
just felt
remember
the
when
love.
Jim Garner saw David McCallum?
I don't.
So David McCallum walks into the table read, which is in this room that's sort of in another building separate from where we shoot on the stages. And they stare at each other. Now, Jim Garner was about 6'4" in life, and I think David McCallum was around 5'4" in life, however tall he was. Right. And both big men in their own ways, but in just in terms of actual height, there was about a foot between them. David walked over. Jim got up from his chair, and they shook hands, and then there was an embrace. They were in a movie called The Great Escape together.
Oh my Lord!
With Steve McQueen and Charles Bronson and all these Donald Pleasance. Great movie, but on that movie, I've come to find out, David's, and I think I can speak to all of this because nobody's alive anymore from this particular era, but David's wife had an affair with Charles Bronson on the set of The Great Escape.
That was a tough time.
And David had gone to go do an audition somewhere in London, and he flew back to Germany, and everyone on the set knew.
Oh, God.
And Jim Garner knew that David wasn't going to do anything about it to Charles Bronson, who was a brick shithouse. And the story is that Jim Garner said, I'm going to have to give you a slug. And Charles Bronson took the hit because this was like how they dealt with it in their man code.
You're kidding me.
This is the story. And Jill Ireland was David's wife. Jill Ireland, a few years later, married Charles Bronson.
Right.
The man she had the affair with.
So do you think that embrace had to do with like, I know what you did for me, brother. Thank you so much.
All that history, I think it was all inside that. I mean, I think that.
But I love how there's a code there. There's like a code of honor there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it might as well have been the year 1520.
Well,
you know what I mean? It was
whatever
just like.
The year is, I just love that there's a value system that held that together.
Yes.
You know, that somebody else stepped in and said, I'm going to step up to that plate and I'm going to do the thing that you're not going to do. For whatever reason, I'm going to do it for you and I'm going to take care of it because I'm mad for you.
I'm mad for you and we're not having that.
And we're not having that.
Right.
And it will be acknowledged
even though it turns out that it was love, that it was true. So it's...
No, I understand. And look, you have no idea what the contracts are before coming into this.
The universe has its own way.
You know what I mean?
But that is old Hollywood, and that's one of the special things about having guest stars and people come through, and talking to Robert Wagner about David McCallum being a guest star on Heart to Heart, and then now David is the lead of NCIS,
right? And
Robert Wagner comes in, and you have Bob Newhart come through, and you have all these incredible Lily Tomlin and all. I mean,
we have had some incredible guest actors.
Yeah,
some incredible people. Whether they were young, whether
Matt
they were
Jones
going
as
to.
Dorney.
I mean, Dornigat. It was like a classic.
We got to get Matt Jones on this show.
We really do. My
come
God,
on,
he's just so good.
Let's look into that.
I still remember him going like, "Hey, you guys, I just booked this thing, and
that should be a two-parter." He was in Breaking Bad.
I mean, he did a lot of things. He's a really talented guy.
Funny.
You know, funny enough, he was. I think he was accepted into Carnegie Mellon at some point.
And
he was
refused,
like, "Oh yeah."
He refused to go.
I think because he was either working or he was just like, "Oh, I don't want to," you know. But when he told me that, he's like, "Hey, Cody, did you by any chance go to that school?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my school." And so, but it was like a funny anecdote.
You want to tell me the Gibbs rule?
Oh God, yes, I would love to. Gibbs rule of the day. Rule number 44. What is it? Oh, no idea?
First things first, make my sandwich before you make yours.
Oh, God.
No. Butcher. First things first.
Hide the women and the children. I mean, that's 101.
It's number 44.
Well, yes, it's 44. By the way, it should be 1. But what's 1? We just talked about it the other day. You never leave your partner alone.
Never leave your partner, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. You don't abandon your partner.
You know what rule number 9 is? Always carry a knife.
I should know that one.
I feel like we can safely say Voyeur's Web, dangerous episode.
Yeah, I think it toyed around with a lot of different
very fun
themes.
to watch, moves along, sexy. in a way, but also kind of shocking. It bumps from like almost gore kind of horror movie scares to comedy, to like light weirdo, not another teen movie comedy.
And I think at the end of that episode, you get turned down by Monica, and
we go on a date,
and Ziva says, "Hey, my treat, I'll take you to the."
And I'm going to try and get you the La Perla outfit.
And you're like, "Ooh, maybe I'll get lucky." And she's like, "You won't be needing that." Foof.
Foof. You won't be needing that. Well, rejection. That's a double rejection.
It was purple too. What they chose for Monica, what you chose for Monica, was like this. Was this purple, like
camisole,
silky purple. I was like, that's quite a color.
It's very presumptuous for like a first date.
It's ridiculous.
That just goes to show you the emotional growth that the Donoso character, because I don't think by season 11 that was happening anymore. If you have any fan questions or you just like to find out where we got our wardrobe, you can email us at offduty@spotify.com.
That's right. That's exactly what I said.
You might be wondering where you can watch your NCIS, and of course you can watch it on Paramount Plus, and you can watch the new episodes of NCIS on the network, CBS.
All right, well, next week on Off Duty.
Yes, tell me about it.
Gibbs befriends a young boy after his father, a lieutenant commander, is kidnapped. Although the evidence garnered... Sorry, I'll read that again.
Okay, so tell me about next week's episode.
Gibbs befriends a young boy after his father, a lieutenant commander, is kidnapped. Although the evidence is gathered by Gibbs's team, and it suggests that the lieutenant commander was a part of the scheme to leak classified information, Gibbs's famous gut says otherwise. Next up, it's season 3, episode 7, Honor Code. Foof.